you to our Veterans Day ceremony. And as I mentioned before, this is a very special day. This being the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I, the war to end all wars, which obviously here we are in year 15 on our war on terror. So I want to make a couple quick announcements. Of course, first of all, welcome to our veterans that are here to my left, the many participants and guests that are with us, particularly our State Representative Hannah Kane, from our Board of Selectmen, Chairman John LeBeau, Mo DePaula, Beth Hassan, Jim Kane, and our veterans rep, Mike Berman. So today is certainly a special day when we honor those men and women that have sacrificed for us, for our freedom, for our way of life, for our democracy. Currently, there are 1 million men and women in uniform in the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Coast Guard, and the Marine Corps. I talked to my scouts on Thursday that there are 150,000 men and women that are deployed around the world, whether they're in Korea, on the DMZ, at an Air Force base in Japan, they're in Afghanistan, Kuwait, they may be on the bottom of the ocean in a submarine, or they may be on an aircraft carrier task force. But I asked my scouts, do you ever get upset when your parents cheer too loudly at one of your athletic events like a soccer game? Do you ever get annoyed when your parents say, hey, how was school today? How did everything go? And I said, what is our plans for Thanksgiving? Do you go to your grandparents' house, your aunt's, your uncle's house? And I said, now imagine for a year, your mother, your father are gone. They're overseas. They're working on behalf of our freedom. They're making sacrifices for us that we often don't think about. And so today is that special day that we really think about those that have made that sacrifice in the past. Many of the men and women to my left were in places like Korea, Vietnam, before the days of Skype and FaceTime, where they couldn't call back and forth to their families, but writing a letter was the best that they could do to tell their loved ones that they're okay. So we take this special day in our year to really think about those who have made those kind of sacrifices so we can enjoy the things that we enjoy as Americans. So today our first speaker will be Fred Russell, from giving us a veterans perspective as the chairman of the Shrewsbury Veterans Council.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming on this cold and windy day. Well, as a veteran, I'd like to say that it is a much better group here today than we've had used to have when I first started coming to these. We might have had 12 people, and I'm glad that you all showed up to show your respect for all veterans past and present. Thank you.
Now I welcome the chairman of our Board of Selectmen, John LeBeau, who will make some remarks about the significance of today.
Good morning. As we express our gratitude to all our American veterans on today, the 100th anniversary of the end of World War I thought I'd take a moment to remember that Shrewsbury has been sending its daughters and sons off to serve in our military to defend our way of life from the very first moments leading to the birth of the United States. In fact, on March 19, 1775, 128 Minutemen from a town of not even 1,000 people, small farming town, Shrewsbury, sent off our 128 Minutemen to Lexington to answer the call of the Battle of Lexington and the shot heard round the world. We had another Shrewsbury veteran of that era who's probably our best-known native-born son, Major General Artemus Ward. I thought I'd take a moment just to remind everybody of exactly who he was. Now, we all drive by his house all the time, but I thought I'd mention just a very few accomplishments of his very, very impressive life. He was born in Shrewsbury, November 26, 1727. just a few weeks before the town actually was incorporated. He went to school locally and then studied college at Harvard. His father was very active in town affairs and in fact was on the very first Board of Selectmen after the town was incorporated. But General Ward himself served the town as a selectman, as the town clerk, as an assessor, as a treasurer, and as our representative to the Colonial Assembly in the 1750s and 60s. He was active in the militia, served as a colonel in the French and Indian War, was the commander-in-chief of the Massachusetts forces in 1775. Later in 1775, he was named Major General in the Continental Army. He was one of the leaders in the Continental Forces at the Battle of Bunker Hill. He was one of the leaders who received and deployed the cannon that General Knox hauled through Shrewsbury from Fort Ticonderoga to defend Boston and Dorchester. After his military service, General Ward served as the Chief Justice of the Worcester County Court. He served in the Mass State Senate. He was our representative in Congress. He came back, ran for state representative, served there, was the Speaker of the Massachusetts House of Representatives. He finished his professional career again as a judge in Worcester County, where he faced down the rebellioners of Shays' Rebellion on the courthouse steps in Worcester. There's a statue of General Ward in Washington, D.C., in Ward Circle, where the inscription reads in part, son of Massachusetts, graduate of Harvard College, judge and legislator, delegate to the Continental Congress, soldier in 3 wars, and first commander of the patriotic forces. As President John Adams said, General Ward was universally esteemed, beloved, and confided in by his army and his country. So Shrewsbury is tied very closely to our veterans dating all the way back to the Revolution and before. To our veterans who are here today, to our veterans who are no longer with us, we offer our sincere and grateful thanks because we simply would not be living the lives that we lead without what they have all done for us. Thank you.
Thank you, John. We will now be led in the Pledge of Allegiance by Girl Scouts of Troop 30050. Now we blessings to everybody, the evidence, and Rebecca. Please. And salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, ladies. We will now ask Olivia Marks, a student at Bridgewater State and the former Miss Greater Worcester, to lead us in the singing of our national hymn.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous
that the Patton School third grade chorus, under the direction of Sarah Crum, will perform our salute to the American forces. Please rise when you hear your song being sung.
First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our
Sarah, to the Patton School third grade chorus. That was excellent. Now we'll have the wreath laying ceremony performed by the Charles Murphy Post. Charles Kiefer, our post chaplain, will now lead us in a moment of prayer.
Let us be in the attitude of prayer. Gracious God, we're gathered here in humble recognition of your divine providence, beseeching you to usher into our world of confusion and doubt the peace and tranquility which alone can come from you. Bless and protect our nation. Be merciful to our honored dead, the memory of whose valor and courage inspires us to eternal vigilance in the preservation of our priceless freedom. Awaken in our hearts the desire and the will to accomplish the ideals for which our nation exists, so that there may emerge a better world, one founded upon faith and understanding, one dedicated to preserving human rights and dignity, a world of tolerance and justice, a world intent on loving and serving you. Amen.
We now come to the solemn portion of today's ceremony, when we'll have Fred Russell and William Rand lead us in the calling of the names of our fallen from Shrewsbury, in the last year our veterans, the ringing of the bell, and at the conclusion of the names, we will then have taps played by Tom Ryan, a member of the Shrewsbury High School Band, and his brother Patrick, who came back from UMass Lowell to help us out today.
William E. Burns, Vietnam. George N. Ellis, World War II. Vincent F. Abdella, World War II. Lucy Costas, World War II. John A. Witzel, Vietnam. Dan Daly, Vietnam. Albert B. Costagna, World War II. Michael R. Ravelli, Vietnam. Joseph A. Tagliamonte, veteran. Henry J. Wallach, World War II. Leonard C. Belrose, National Guard. Robert C. Boerke, Vietnam. Carl A. Larson, World War II. John H. Donovan Jr., MD, U.S. Air Force. Gary Ditzel, U.S. Air Force. Leonard Sayers, USMC. Leonard Salerno, U.S. Army. Gary McSweeney, U.S. Army. Henry Cavoni, U.S. Navy. Matthew Metzmaker, USMC. Angelo Icone, U.S. Army. Charles McCarthy, U.S. Army. Nicholas Tedesco Sr., USMC.
One minute, please. Louis J. Louis Progeny Sr., World War II. Thomas F. Flanagan, U.S. Army. James E. Driscoll, World War II. John Crafton III, Vietnam. Robert A. Knight, U.S. Navy. Joseph Ciccarelli, U.S. Army. Alston Lewis, United States Air Force. Robert Mesereau, U.S. Navy. John K. Donahue, World War II. Alfred M. St. Onge, Korea. Hugo J. Yalley, Korea. William Heselton, Vietnam. William H.K. McGuire, World War II. Elliot Logan, Korea. Jane Frinder, World War II. Michael Fulton, Vietnam. Marcel L. Racine, Korea. Albert A. Richard, Vietnam. Henry A. Sullivan, World War II. John F. Tambolo, Korea. William R. Campbell, Vietnam. Wayne R. Stone, Navy. And Robert R. Giovantaro, Korea.
Thank you. A couple quick announcements. One, Olivia Marks, our singer, dropped a pin. If anyone sees this pin on the floor, please bring it to us at the end of the ceremony. I want to remind everyone there's a reception sponsored by the Friends of the Shrewsbury Public Library inside the library at the conclusion of our ceremony. And as always, Scouts, I ask that you line up and come through and shake our hands and thank our veterans for their service to our country. So in our closing remarks, it takes courage for a soldier or a sailor to raise life and limb for his country. The least we can do is honor these heroes. This is the basis of the Veterans Day celebration, to venerate the great men and women with words and acts of appreciation for their sacrifice. They remind the younger generation of their duty towards their country, inspire them to uphold the tradition of liberty and equality. So we thank our veterans for their service. We ask you to enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend. And as we get close to the Thanksgiving holidays, please keep in mind the million men and women that are in our nation currently defending our freedoms, and those that are deployed overseas that can't be with their loved ones. Thank you again for joining us today. Have a great Veterans Day.